Now it's time for our first panel. It's a really important panel, but before I introduce them, I want to say something very important. What we're doing today is we're echoing, we're paralleling, we're mirroring what Qatar's been talking about in the news. Qatar always says it's all about dialogue. It's all about talking things through. It's okay for us to disagree on different things and still be friends. That's something that Hamid was just saying. I mean, I know in my own home, growing up, I disagreed with my mother and father. Didn't make me love them any less. So if you can disagree with your own parents and family and still live under one roof, I think it's okay for us to have different stances in a country and still live all together on this earth. Do you agree? I think so, right? Yeah. And so we have a very interesting panel. I'd like you here to welcome you all for what promises to be a fascinating discussion about the role of old and new media in the Qatar GCC crisis, a subject I'm sure you're all familiar with. Now, social media is an integral part in our daily lives. On average, we spend over 4 hours a day just consuming digital content. And I don't know about you guys, I don't even watch TV as much, I only just watch YouTube. Now, traditional media, on the other hand, is in a decline. And when we say traditional media, I think even our definition of traditional media is changing, and that's why it becomes difficult to know what's traditional and what's not. So to me, what I consider traditional media today is a banner on a website. That's traditional media to me. But that's because today all of us influencers were communicating messages in different ways. Now, I'm talking about creating snaps, I'm talking about product placement, I'm talking about the videos that we do that have those subtle undertones. To me, that's what normal media is. And that's where we need to find out if people like Elizabeth, people like Dima, and of course Sheikh Saif agree with that point of view.
Just want to say thank you all for coming, and also to tell you the GCO, of course, the Government Communications Office, has been established now for almost 2 years. We have a few different roles. Our first role, of course, is to communicate internally between the different entities, between the different ministries. And our second role, of course, is to communicate this message from our government to the public and to the media. And the third point, of course, which you're seeing a lot these days, our name out in the media, is communicating to the media. And we decide these different ways of communication, whether it's the minister who's going to go and talk, whether it's our office, whether dividing the work, is all dependent on the topic. So this is just a general background, of course, of the GCO. There are more details, but these are the general summary.
Thank you so much for having me here. It's really a privilege and a pleasure, and especially to see such a packed room. So congratulations on bringing so many dynamic people together. My background has been entirely in the space where societal change and communications meet social media. I started at Google and YouTube and Facebook back in California in 2007, 8, 9, 10. Moved over to London in 2011 to build out the politics and government division for Facebook. So I spent a total of 8 fascinating years at Facebook. Something that started to bother me, though, during my time at Facebook running the politics and government team, where it was my job to train world leaders and government leaders and diplomats on this space, is I realized, these individuals have the biggest opportunity they've had in the history of civilization to have conversations with people at a scale that would have, without, of course, connected technology, been completely impossible. That's a really, really, really exciting time to be in history. And I think what's so sad is that, generally speaking, there's so little of that conversation actually taking place online. Why is that? What can we do to do more? How can people like the people in this room be the role models, be the leaders that we need to pioneer this space? And that's what I'm most passionate about through the work that I'm doing with the Conversational Century.
Well, AJ Plus is a revolution within Al Jazeera, but it's also been a revolution in the world of media. And it's actually my own story with Al Jazeera because I came from traditional television. I was a traditional reporter that would show up on the news and tell you all these lengthy reports about what this president said and what this happened and that happened. And I completely transformed myself into a social media person, just like AJ Plus became this new way of communicating, basically the same thing, just shorter, nicer, and definitely funnier even when it's serious. And that made AJ Plus, with the format that it used and the way that it used Facebook and Twitter, YouTube natively, that made it go really, really quickly into the top Facebook publishers in the whole world. So in the United States, AJ Plus is competing with Now This, with BuzzFeed, and definitely surpasses many times CNN and Fox News on social media. And that's something that we made out of Qatar, and we never thought we would make this kind of success, and then we turned into the other languages. So that's the story of AJ Plus today, is one of the most influential social media publishers. In the Arab world, we have the highest views on our Twitter account in Arabic, although we only have 200,000 followers, which is less than my own followers. And on Facebook, we're definitely beating it in Espanol and in English.